Hi there, this is Dani Beaumont. Welcome to Muse Jam Session Recording. I would say we're up to about 187. We did a little bit of experimentation in the last couple of weeks using Facebook Live to present. I think we get a whole lot of exposure there during the live session, lots and lots of folks. But I think the downside to Facebook Live is that the recording quality is not really as strong. And it's hard to find. Once you put something on Facebook, it tends to come and go, and there's no permalink. You can't actually drive folks to an individual link. So we're going to try for, I guess, a hybrid of both worlds, do a little bit of Facebook Live, and encourage folks to come join us here during our normal recordings. So welcome aboard. I have a cold, no video today, and we may go a little slow. We'll see how my brain works. The topic today is around Creative Cloud libraries. And so I'm going to just begin. We'll go ahead and jump in. As we work, if you have questions, throw them into the chat. I will swing through from time to time. I am pretty much probably on my own from the Muse team standpoint today. So I will stop and grab those questions as we go. If it's not something we address during the session, I may follow up with you after. If you send me an email as well. So Dani@adobe.com. All right, Creative Cloud libraries. I'm going to switch over into the Adobe Muse application, and I'll just give you a quick sense of what a Creative Cloud library is about. We have a number of libraries in the Muse application. The first one we delivered was one called a widget library. And the idea there was that there were certain interactive components that could be configured and styled, known as a widget. And we wanted to make those available to you as users of the system. And this was when Muse shipped originally a good 4 years ago. Widget libraries are, in essence, a read-only mode. You can pull them into your project, but you cannot put anything, you cannot add to the widget library. For that, we added something known as the library panel. And the library panel really allows you to have any sort of content that you would have on a Muse page. So it can be a favorite treatment that you have. If you take one of the widgets, let's say a menu widget, and you want to style it out in a way that you'd like to reuse, the library is a way to do that easily. About a little while ago, I think February of this year, we started to support Creative Cloud libraries. They are, to a large extent, the same as libraries. They have almost all of the same features as library, but they go a lot further. Because they have almost the same features as a regular library, we're not yet ready to kind of roll all of these libraries into one panel. We're thinking about it and looking at it. But at the moment, there are a few different unique attributes between a Creative Cloud library and a library. Let's just jump into the library bit at this point, and I'll show you how it works. So if you as a designer like to work in Photoshop, Creative Cloud libraries have a terrific feature that can really help you onboard a Photoshop comp that you might build out that you then want to build in Adobe Muse. Other ways that Creative Cloud libraries can allow you to bring content over would be with touch devices. So let's say you want to grab colors using the Adobe, it's either called, I think it's called Gather. I tend to forget. But it's a product that is a touch-enabled application that allows you to grab colors using something formerly known as Adobe Color. There's also something known as Adobe Line. It is rolled into that same tool, and it allows you to come in and capture based on images, line art, or colors that you work with. In the Adobe Creative Cloud, you can have Creative Cloud files and libraries. The files live in the browser, and I'll show you those in just a moment, but the library appears in individual Creative Cloud applications. So if I did take my phone and I took a photo of some colors that I really liked, and I saved it out as a swatch set or a color set, I would be able to access that really easily directly in Adobe Muse. Alternatively, if I went into Adobe Comp and I wanted to pull down into Comp some of design elements that I either created in Muse or Illustrator in Photoshop, let's say, I can pull back downstream, in essence, back to that very early wireframe workflow, any of these elements that I've designed in those higher end or later on workflows for the Creative Cloud. Now, in our world, the world that at least I'm experienced with, content will come to me from Photoshop or Illustrator, and I want to be able to seamlessly bring that into Muse, keep track of its versions, and be able to synchronize it very easily. Synchronization is the other really amazing part about the Creative Cloud. You can not only have a Creative Cloud library that you share across machines, share across things like, as I mentioned, your phone, touch-enabled devices, but it's easy to share that content with other people as well. So you can share it in a read-only mode, basically make available certain library attributes that you want others to have. Alternatively, you can have a collaboration mode where if you and another designer are collaborating on content and you trust them to not damage your content, to actually be able to edit it without wrecking it, you can invite them to collaborate with that library. So these, I think, are all amazing advances in our world of assets and production with the Adobe Muse and Creative Cloud that I want to give you a look at. I'm going to start in Photoshop because that can be the first step for you depending on how you're working. So I'm here in the Photoshop application, and when I did the pigeon design, the kickapigeon.com site, I asked an art director to design it for me. But the director didn't know anything about Muse, and I kind of like to build out my own assets. So that art director gave me Photoshop comps that I could work with. He also did kind of a mood board or a specification page that allowed him as a designer to really get a sense of the colors and fonts and images, and also states of things like buttons that he wanted to work with. I'm going to start in my workflow here with that pigeon specs file. So I'm going to click it in Photoshop and open it up. And unless you've disabled this, some of the more recent versions of Photoshop are going to begin by allowing you to create a new library from document. It just comes up automatically unless you click the Don't Show Again button here. And what it will allow you to do is look at that source content and bring over the right kind of stuff into a Creative Cloud library. Now you'll notice here I've got character styles, colors, layer styles, and smart objects. The beauty of the Creative Cloud library, it's also the bane of existence, is that those Creative Cloud library items, the beauty of Adobe's Creative Suite is that each individual product has its own unique file formats, its own unique functionality. The pen tool, for example, in Flash Pro, let's say, is dramatically different than the pen tool you would find in Illustrator. That's pretty much because Macromedia created the pen tool in Flash and Adobe created the pen tool in Illustrator about 25 years ago, but they have their own unique feature sets. The Creative Cloud folks, there's a really good team of developers that do work to try to make sure that things as they pass through from one application to another will retain the right attributes. But one of the first things you'll want to kind of get clear in your mind is the fact that it's not always going to be exactly the same from application to application, and that has to do with the unique back-end functionality or features for each of those apps. So I see character styles here. At the moment, with the current version of Muse, we do not map over those character styles from Photoshop into Muse. It's good to have them. Other applications like Comp, for example, can allow you to take a typekit character style you might have defined in Photoshop and apply it down there in Comp. I'm going to uncheck it for now because it's not something I really need for Muse. Colors are good to carry over. I can grab the named colors or the color values that are used in this comp. Layer styles are also something that don't manifest in Muse. Muse is more of a layout application and Photoshop a photo manipulation application. But smart objects are a good thing as well. So in this design, there are images here. There are photos that were placed. I want them to come over. But I also want to go ahead and grab the instances of Illustrator artwork here that will be rendered as SVG, as that internal file format from Illustrator to Photoshop and Photoshop into Muse. So I'll keep Smart Objects checked. And I'm going to notice this move Smart Objects to Library and replace with links. This is nice as well, where it's going to actually bring the actual files over. So it's not going to link back to this source document. It's going to create a new instance and then allow me to work with a link interface from there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Create New Library. And pretty quickly, Photoshop has gone in and extracted everything it can find in the design. Now, one thing you'll notice, and I'm not exactly sure why this is true, colors are coming over more than once. So it may be that the designer, I know that he was experimenting. So for example, here's two colors he never used in the finished design. There may be a layer, I think it's actually the stroke on this field for a contact form actually that has that color there. But I'm getting kind of dupes. It's kind of okay. I can always come in and delete any of the ones that are redundant here. I can use the Command key and just select and go ahead and delete those. But it did a really nice job of bringing them over. It's kind of nice. I can always start with these, delete the ones I don't want, or just bring them over into a new library that's cleaner if I'd like to clean it up. You'll notice I have a PNG file. So this is one that was placed in Photoshop. I have a Behance logo, and that is going to be an AI file. So it's a source file format. When I bring it over into Adobe Muse, that file format that transfers over will be SVG internally for us. But I've got some nice vector content here, each of the buttons that I can work with. So that's there, and it retained the name of my file here. So I have pigeonspec.psd, and I have a library pigeonspecs. All good. What I can do now, actually, let me just mention, if you happen to have dismissed that dialog or that dialog drives you crazy, you can always open up a file and then in the Creative Cloud library here in this panel, click the new library from document icon in the lower left there, and it will automatically cause that extraction to happen at that point. So with that done, I'm going to go ahead and quit out of Photoshop. Just make life easy, and we'll switch over to Adobe Muse. If I now come to my Creative Cloud Library dropdown, notice we have Pigeon Specs. So I have that file directly available to me here within the application. So really good. I want to now start working and building things out. So I'm going to come on in here to my Muse project. Let's just start on a new site because I still want to talk a little bit about a couple other things, and new is a great way to show it. So I'll click OK. So I have a brand new project here now. There's nothing really associated with that project. If I come over to my swatches panel, you'll notice there's a default set of swatches. This is the new default state for any new Muse project that I work with. If I right click on that panel and select delete all unused, it's going to remove any colors that are not being used in the project. And since it's an empty project, there's a whole lot of not much color going on. I can also look at, just to kind of show this, I'm going to drag out swatches for a second. I'm going to also select paragraph styles, show that up for a moment. And I'm going to jump over to graphic styles and bring that guy out. Now this is a little bit more to do with theming within Muse, but I still think it's amazingly handy and works incredibly well with Creative Cloud libraries. So let's jump over to a library that I've worked with, that I've sort of massaged a little bit more. There's this Hearth website. It's a Muse themes template that I like to teach with these days. Just a really nice, simple real estate website. Folks here in San Francisco are keenly aware of how expensive real estate is. And trust me, any of the houses for sale on that pretend website are nowhere near as inexpensive as they appear on the website. That is false advertising at its finest. But it's a good demo asset and a good one to showcase the Muse feature set. What I want to begin with, the first thing I'm going to do is come in and in the CC library, I'm going to grab something that I dragged from another Muse project, that Muse themes template, to be honest, into the Creative Cloud library. And I just want to show you the magic that happens when I do that. So keep your eye on the swatches, paragraph styles, and graphic styles here. I'll press and drag this guy over and kind of click and release it on the canvas. Now, what I've got here is a different form of a specification file. I've specced out the colors that I like. I've got fonts that I like to work with, and they're all contained here. If there were any graphic styles, let's say I liked my rollover button states, I could drag that over as well. The magical bit that happens is notice that my swatches panel now has the colors that were included with this element. I've also got in my paragraph styles here, some of those paragraph styles. Let's go ahead and show this just for the heck of it. I've got a green button that I could put in with the style sheet. I'm going to press and drag that onto the canvas and just click and release it. When I bring that over, actually it was a little less interesting than I thought it might be. You'll notice I have some rollover states that are here. So the button has a difference between, and if I make it a little taller, it'll probably look a little more attractive. Maybe. But this button has an upstate, an overstate, downstate, and active state. And those are contained not as graphic styles, I kind of thought they might have some, but with fills and strokes and text attributes as well. And those come over. Notice that it's a slight variation on the body text style that was there. So I can come on into these styles and just click and say, you know what, go ahead and make this one a button style. And I'll leave it as a P tag and click OK. So I can carry over those styles. If I were to add this button now to my little spec set, I would be able to easily bring the styles over to any new project that I work on. So the magic really happens, and then I'm going to select everything on the page, and I'm going to delete the hard work I've just done, basically get rid of it. What you'll notice is it retained the swatches and it retained the paragraph styles. So I have kind of a clean way of working going forward here. I'm going to go ahead and put these away, kind of clean up our house a little bit. And I'll get graphic styles where they belong there with paragraph styles. Let's go back to the Creative Cloud library again. Now, as you work with it, there's a couple things to keep in mind. You can, I spoke very briefly about how libraries have features that Creative Cloud libraries don't have yet. Notice in libraries, I can create a set of folders here. I can kind of look at all those folders together. So it's kind of a nice way to compare across folders. Creative Cloud libraries really begins a level deeper. So they route you actually into that actual folder. So if you think of this Muse 101 Hearth as a folder, all of the items within it are part of that folder. I can't really step up and see all of my libraries at once. But one thing I can do is you'll notice I have the ability to search. And in the drop down to the right, I can determine if I'm going to search only the current library that I'm working on, all of the Creative Cloud libraries that I have, or actually even searching with Adobe Stock. So looking for stock photography, stock vector content, videos and such. So Stock is integrated with Creative Cloud, and it's a very easy way with Adobe Muse to go ahead and shop for some stock content. So we're going to get to that a little later in the session. But for now, what I want to point out is if you really do like to organize your content into folders and you want to move to Creative Cloud libraries, what you can do is name all of them appropriately. So notice I have a sample called Altura, and I've got a picnic instance, a corporate event. When I structure my library content, when I place content, I usually do a decent job of naming elements in a consistent way. So if I wanted to search for, let's say, an icon, an open and close button icon, let's say, if I type in ICO, and I begin not with stock, with my current library, so I am going to go to that Muse Hearth library and type ICO, and you'll notice I have a number of icons that are here. If I wanted to broaden that search and I say, go ahead and search for all icons, I feel like I'm always making this accordion hamburger close and open SVG content. This allows you to create a mobile menu and have a close box and an open box. I've saved it out as SVG so I can apply it as a background image. I can never remember where I've placed it. So being able to search across all my libraries to find that is a really good way to quickly jump in and do that. For now, we'll stay focused on just that original library. So we'll go into the current library, and I've got some icon sets that I can work with. Now, there are a couple of interesting parts about life. Another thing that Creative Cloud libraries just can't do at all right now is allow you to actually drag an entire Muse source file, so a .muse source file. You can absolutely let's say I wanted to be a little bit crazy here, and I jumped over to the Hearth site. If I wanted to try to have an easy way to be able to build out entire sites very, very quickly, I can't take this whole Muse file and drag it into the Creative Cloud library. What I can do is come on into any individual page, select all on the canvas, and go ahead and in the lower left-hand corner here within Adobe Muse, I can add this quote-unquote graphic to the library. So if I add that graphic, I might go ahead and click off. It does need a minute to add it. Be a little bit patient there. And it shows up as artwork 1. I'll double click on that, and I might call it page. See, I got a shortcut there. So we'll call it PAG, and we're going to call it master, and I'll hit return. I could do it again if I jump over just to kind of show this point. I can come to the listings page, jump on out. There's a ton of contacts here. Select all of that and say, do me a favor, go ahead and add that again into the library. So I'll click the button, give it a minute to actually save out all that content into the library, and I'll come in, I'll call it PAG. We're going to call this listing. So what I've effectively done, if I now come to any brand new document with nothing going on there, I can easily come in and just search for my pages, PAG, and I could start with my master page elements or drag my page listing content onto the canvas and just drop it into position there. So kind of a powerful way to do just about everything. The page width is a little smaller here, so I could make that a little larger if I really wanted to. And then boom, I've got a nice starting set of content to work with here. Now, what seamlessly happens that kind of makes you drop your jaw, I told you I have a cold, kind of makes your jaw drop, is the fact that all of what I've been doing has been synchronized in the cloud on the back end. I could prove it to you, but I know you believe me. Let's go ahead and just open up Adobe Illustrator because we're going to play there in a little bit. Now, it always goes back to what are the file formats that each other understands with each other. I don't think the Illustrator team has spent a lot of time to look at how to interpret Adobe Muse content into its folders or into its file format. And that's pretty appropriate. It's kind of an unusual workflow, I think, to go from Adobe Muse and save content out to Illustrator. But having said that, you may be working in Adobe Illustrator and say, you know what, I laid out something in Muse and I am not really pleased with the icons, for example, that I've got going on there. I want to design more in context and take a look at that content that I'm working with. I'm guessing, and let's see if I'm guessing correctly here, but if I go to that library panel, notice that Illustrator has a lot of libraries going on as well. You've got appearance, graphic styles, and libraries. There's that Muse 101 Hearth thing. It's come on over here. And if I want to make life simple and I type that PAG again, there's the page listing and page master. So I don't know about you, but sometimes when you're upstream and you want to go back downstream, you'll go in and take a screenshot of content and just paste it alongside the work you're trying to do. Like I said, never do something you don't know what's going to happen in front of folks, but let's go for it. I'm going to press and drag that page listing content here onto the document, and I've got it. It's obviously in a read-only form. I could come in and try to resize it. I could also come in if I want to and just lock it into place, or I can change its opacity if I knew how to use Illustrator a little more than I do, and set it to be much lighter so that I can then focus on using it as a template and designing something different in Illustrator. So the connectivity of these files, I just uploaded that content. It went to the Creative Cloud. I can now bring it over into Illustrator almost instantaneously, and I can start to work with files really easily. Let's kind of keep going with that. Back in the Muse application, and let's go ahead and go back to just one of my little blank pages. I don't need much here. Let's see if this is the one that has paragraph and graphic styles already contained. That's swell. So as I work, there's other kind of just, I think, mental hurdles that I've had to get over as I work with libraries. So ways that you can work with Muse, obviously, is if I pull down on File to Place, I can come in and grab lots of source content. So I've got, for example, here's some of the original content for this demo asset that I'm working with. I've got resolution dependent PNG files here. I've got some images that are around. Let's just see, I think. I've got an images folder here, and here's a number of photos that I might work with. Now, if I were working ordinarily with Photoshop or with Muse, what I would do is come on in, grab an image, and I could then just press and drag that image on the canvas. I can work with it easily. I can also come in and place it into something like a slideshow. So let's go out into the widget library and go to slideshows, and I'll bring just a thumbnail slideshow out here on the canvas. So let's say I'm trying to figure out how to use a Creative Cloud library to include an image here. What you'll want to do, instead of File Place, and let me just show that again. If I come in and I say File Place, and I select an image, what I'm able to do in a slideshow is just really click and release to place that image in the slideshow. I also have the ability, I'm just kind of sharing all these bits here. If I come in and say File Place and I select 3 images and click Open, I get what's known as a place gun. And that place gun has a little number on it. When I click on a slideshow, it's going to place all 3 images for me. If I want to work with the Creative Cloud library instead, what I'm able to do is come on into the library. So let's go out and grab that. And we'll stop sorting by page listings. I tend to save images. One thing I don't like about Creative Cloud libraries is it decides for you that loading up the whole stack in one go might be too intensive from a memory standpoint. So as you work, you'll have to say see more and see more when the stack gets pretty big. It gives you a good incentive to really organize your content with labels by the way they're named, I think. So I have IMG instead of ICO, which is icons. IMG tend to be images for me. And let's say I want to come in and add images here to the slideshow. What I do need to do is press and drag it out onto the canvas. And when I get that place indicator, I can come in and place it. What I'm not able to do is select more than one object at a time. So I would need to do these separately as I'm working. So place by dragging and then clicking. Now, having said that, there's kind of 2 ways you can work when you are placing content. If I come to an image and I right-click, notice that I've got the right-click menu and a number of options. There's Placed Linked, which is going to, in essence, link to the cloud instance and keep track of that cloud instance such that if I made changes in another application, it will let me know that that change has happened in Muse and allow me to choose to update it. I can also place a copy, and the copy really duplicates whatever's in the cloud and brings it into the application without keeping that link. So if instead the cloud images went away or I made dramatic changes to them, if I placed it as a copy instance, it's going to still not make any change to the local version that I have. I'm going to go ahead and select Place Linked, and we'll kind of click and release to place that. And let's be a little bit more dramatic, actually. Let's go back to ICO, our icon bits, and I'm going to grab just a cute little green house here, and I'll press and drag that. Actually, I'm not going to press and drag that. I'm going to right-click that and select Place Linked, and I'm just going to click and release. So I can add SVG content to slideshows. It's pretty powerful. You can have a full screen slideshow, a light box, anything of that sort. And that SVG is going to remain resolution independent and load very, very quickly. I can work with it in that manner. Now, let's say as I'm working, I decided that icon house green was a little too green for my taste. I can switch over to Illustrator, and I'm going to go on into the icon set, ICO. And I see that icon house green. Now, I don't really want to wreck it, so I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to, it's funny, it doesn't even bother changing the name. I guess you can have multiple objects with the same name. I'm going to call, we'll see which one of these gets the changes. So I'm going to do an icon house green 2. Let's just see. I'm going to come back here. I'm making my life complicated. Let me go into this guy. Let's make sure I know what I'm doing now that I protected my poor little greenhouse. I'm going to bring over a new one. I'm going to right click and select place linked. And I'm clicking release to bring that in there. And I'm going to come into CC Libraries and right click. And notice I have other options here. There's edit and share a link. Share the link is going to share the link for that one little image file. We'll talk about how you can share the library more broadly, but sharing that link will just share one. If I select edit, so we're on this, let's just keep an eye on what we're doing here. We've got house green and house green 2. I'm going to right click and I'm going to select edit. It's going to automatically look to the source application that kind of owns the rights to that image. And I can come in and change the colors that are here. I may decide that my little smokestack needs a much darker shade of green. If I click OK, tragic. See if I can layer this intelligently. Told you I've lost track of all these guys. Let me see, arrange, send to back. Okay, I have a lovely little dark green smokestack now. What I want to do is go ahead and just close it out and say that I do want to save the change that I've made. If I switch back into Muse, and the demo gods want to be kind, notice I've got icon house green here. That changed in the library directly. Question is, did I get any change over here? I may be pushing my luck with slideshows. Let's come in and place this guy. I'm going to try it again. So I'm going to place a linked instance, just put it right there. And let's just make our life a little easier. I'm going to go back and I'm going to edit the one with the funny smokestack. And we're going to change it one more time. Something really good, beautiful. And I'm going to save it and close it. Swing back over into Muse. If I come into my assets panel, I made a subtle enough change that most of us won't be able to tell. That one is still green, no worries there. This one, goodness knows if it's turned red because I picked something so dark. If I come into my assets panel though, let's open that guy up. Notice that I'm getting an indicator here. I've got a cloud icon that lets me know that the asset that has been placed is not something I said file place. It's actually coming from the Creative Cloud, and it's been updated. I can see where each instance is, so I can always say, go show it to me. But I can come in and just on that object, say, go ahead and update the asset based on the change that was made outside of my original source. So I did a really awfully subtle change there. This one's got the dark green instance. This one has the dark red instance. You might have to just believe me, or I might have to go do that again to prove it. Let's go ahead and do this to the second one. I'm going to relink it, which I can also do. That's kind of interesting. Notice what my options are there. I can relink. I've got a house, this guy right here, right? It's got a little bit of trouble saying that things have changed. I can either relink it to something on my desktop or relink it from something in the libraries, or I can just update it if it automatically knows what's going on. So very quickly it went in and re-rendered this instance as well. So kind of in summary, if you work with a group, a team, and you want to keep track of any changes that might be made by somebody else, you may not want to automatically accept those changes. You don't want to have to go through a 50-page website and worry that because you're using a shared library, someone's made changes and you're not aware of it. So know that whenever those external changes happen, you'll get an alert when you open up the Muse application that some of the images have been updated, and you'll always be able to come into the Assets panel, step through and see each instance of an image that might have been changed, and go ahead and accept that change if you'd like to. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the other ways you'll work with images. So I showed you that you can just place it into a slideshow. Other things you can also do, you ready to get to really tragic design here? Let's move this guy a little out of the way. I can come into any one object. So let's go back to my Creative Cloud library and let's pick on something a little bit more fun. I don't know. There's only so much fun one can have. Okay, we'll stick with that. We will pick on the house again because it's so much fun. I'm going to select that greenhouse. And when I right click, notice that I have other options. I can set as a page fill or a browser fill. So that was a little tricky for my brain. There's no way to, what you'll notice is if I want to select an image and make it a browser fill, notice that I can come to the browser fill dropdown and I can browse for that image. It'd be really hard to try to take a Creative Cloud library and do the same thing, if you think about it, because it's in the library. How am I going to get it on my disk to define it as a browser fill? So we take care of that for you. You can come in, and maybe I should go with a photo here. I've got this image house, for example. I might decide that I want that to be a browser fill, and it will go in and apply that to the browser. I can then come in and choose how that application is handled. I might want it to scale to fill the container and set how its position worked, but I'm able to take it from the Creative Cloud and apply it in that manner. I also could come in and if I wanted to, let's just see if I can undo this a little bit. Not that that's not really pretty. I could define it as a page fill. So for folks that are still in the world of pages versus browsers, you can define a page fill. A bit of a trickier one is, let's say I come in and I create a container and I want to do, let's say I want to do that scroll effect that's so popular. Of course, I would come in and change my breakpoint here to be a fixed breakpoint to actually implement it. And I'm going to come in and create a container. I'm going to let that container be full browser width. And I want to add an image here, but I want to work with the library. What I want to do is come on in, and I could choose how I place this. I can go ahead and place a linked instance by selecting it in that right menu. Let's try that again. Place linked, and I can click and release to place it. What I would do at that point is I would right click and I would cut it to the clipboard. I would then come to this container and I would right click and I would select paste as a background image. Okay, so you can paste things into containers. If it's just on the place gun, there's no way to tell it you can place it, but you can't place it as a background image. So that's sort of a backdoor trick to doing that. From there, I can come in and have it scale to fill the container, and I can add, let's see, that's not looking very exciting, is it? I can come in and set a scroll effect to it if I'd like. So it's going to move at, let's say, 8 times the speed of scroll. And I now have that image in a linked form as a background image as I'm working. I'm going to stop and see how the people are doing, and then we're going to talk about different ways that you can share this up. So chat is incredibly quiet, which I can accept. Let's keep going. And let's talk about sharing. From a sharing standpoint, again, there's different ways you can work. Someone's letting me know they're really there. Good. You can absorb quietly amongst yourselves. Always acceptable. When you're ready to share, there's different ways you can share. So when I give classes, when I teach Adobe Muse, what I will do is I'll create a link in my tutorials that allow people to get started really easily. So to do that, I can come to the flyout panel here in my creative library. You'll notice I can duplicate my library if I'd like. Why am I not seeing that? That's interesting. Let's see, try this guy. Is it somewhere different? I see delete and rename. I was really under the impression you could duplicate it. I might be doing something a little funny here. But I do encourage you to duplicate before you share with people you don't know and trust, depending on the nature of the way you're sharing it. With the library that I do want to work with selected, I'll come to the drop-down menu, and I can come in and select to either share the link or collaborate. This is really important. If I say share the link, Muse is going to take me into a web instance of the Creative Cloud. Now, in that web instance, there's a lot of folders and assets. So here I am in the assets world, and this is a library. You can kind of see it grayed out here. I'm in that library amongst all my other assets. I can create a public link for it. If I no longer want to share that link for a library, I'm going to go ahead and select that share link in the panel, come on here, and then remove it. So if I didn't want people that are out there to be able to get to it anymore, it allows me to turn that off. Notice in advanced options, I can come in and decide, this is kind of interesting, if I want to let people download it on their local machine or just be able to access it. I'm not positive how secure that is. Probably just keeps people from, lock, stock, taking your whole library. If they're able to access them, I think they could take the objects into their application, then create their own library. So it's not bulletproof, but I do have that option as I'm working. Another thing that's nice, so here it is. I can also access it from the web directly if I didn't want to do it from within an application. Let's say I wanted to share with folks and I wanted them to be able to see it and also see changes. One thing that's really important about that public link, it's almost like it takes a snapshot of the library. If I share that link out and then tomorrow I add 20 more library items, if I gave you a link today, the link that you have is going to snapshot today. It will not automatically update tomorrow if I add more content. Really important to know. We've recently added an ability to do that. And what I would do if I want you to have a read-only instance of the library, and I want to make sure that as the days go by, any additions I make to that library you have access to, what I would do is select the Collaborate option. Now be careful here because Collaborate does open the door for people to come on in and delete your content or change it without really asking you about it. What you want to do is you can come in and invite individual people. So you can't create just a public link that anyone can get to. It's kind of the downside. But notice if I come in and decide that Dani at adobe.com really deserves access to this, in the dropdown I can decide if Dani should just view it or if she can actually have edit options. So in that, if I say view, it'll allow me to have lots of changes that I can make and have that automatically update in the shared instance of the library. That's kind of it for Creative Cloud libraries as far as the high level stuff. Let me think a little bit what we haven't covered. We did some of the flyouts. You'll notice you can go view it directly on the website. As I mentioned, you can share a link to an individual item. So if I want to share that gallery landing, I could create a link just for that. So it will do so. It allows you to share full folder sets or the others. The other thing I do want to spend a little more time on is let's talk a little bit more about Adobe Stock. So the way Adobe Stock works is you can buy sort of entitlements to have content. You're also free to use Adobe Stock with watermarks as much as you'd like. So if you're working on a comp and you just want to lay out some for-position only images, Stock can be pretty terrific. Let's say I decide I'm looking for more real estate content. What I want to do is search Stock this time, and I'm going to just type in real estate. And I'll do a pretty quick search. It allows me to come in and search for that content. Now, right here within the Creative Cloud panel, I can come in and buy something if I have either entitlements already associated with my Stock account, or I've got a credit card associated with my Adobe ID. Clicking on the cart is going to allow me to buy it. I could just start by saying, I want to use it for position only. Do me a favor and go ahead and download it for me. Notice that I now have this as a JPEG file. I can come in and in that same way, notice I have license image here in the right menu. But I could just come on in and press and drag it on the canvas and click and release. It'll place at actual size or scale. Now this has a watermark and an ID on it. Of course, that's by design because I haven't bought it yet. But I could probably do a lot with just these instances without having to do much more. Once it's there, if I really, really want it, I'll go ahead and license the image. I hope it doesn't license the image. I did get, see, I'm going to cancel it if I can't. I have some licenses, but I don't really want that particular one. Might be too late. I might own it. Yeah, guess what? I own it. Fast as the internet. You never know when you need that silly image. So if that's true, if I do own it, now when I place it, it's high resolution. So you'll notice it's a bit larger. Woohoo, I'm such a lucky individual. I now have this image and I have the rights to use it, and it no longer has the watermark. Okay, I won't do that again. Any questions that you have on any of this that we've covered, or any general questions that we should talk about? I'm going to probably go on in and stop the recording for your average Joe, but I'm happy to hang around and take on any other questions that we have. So I'll be right back with that recording link.